Frank has led the sort of life that most people can only dream of. He's had a variety of amazing, unbelievable experiences, which he's going to share with us now. And over that time, he's gained, over the last 50 years, the last half a century, he's gained some fascinating insights into how the world works. Or as you might say here at Revelation Tapes, how the world really works. So, here he is now, Mr. Frank Willis. Frank, where did it all start? How did a nice guy like you get caught up in all of this?
I came to this country from Rhodesia in 1973.
Okay, so you're born in Rhodesia?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the time I was just turning 16 and I was looking for somewhere, a job. Initially I wanted to join the Merchant Navy, but I failed the medical because I had acne, and the doctors were...
They can fail you for that?
Yeah. Well, the doctors were frightened it might be a tropical disease as well as acne. Yeah. So they failed me on that and advised me to come back 6 months later. But in that I ended up going into engineering and served an apprenticeship as an engineering pattern maker. I enjoyed going to the college and learning about that. But in that, between 16 and the age of 20, I started doing a lot of drugs, drinking a lot, getting in fights, generally being a hellraiser, being a real swine.
Yeah.
I got in quite a lot of trouble at the time. Bearing in mind, coming from Rhodesia, I was still very racist.
Yeah.
I was in a restaurant one night and I literally ripped a black guy's face apart with a bottle.
Right, okay.
I heard the police were after me and I thought, I've had enough, I've got to get out.
Yeah.
I went to South Africa. I stayed with some friends in Johannesburg, and then one day I was sat in a cafe and I just saw this poster, "Be a man among men, join the Rhodesian army." I thought, yeah, solid, why not?
Yeah, a bit of excitement, yeah.
Yeah, so I joined the army in Rhodesia and ended up in support commando, Rhodesian light infantry. We were commando trained and we saw a lot of action mainly on the eastern border with Mozambique. We went into Mozambique quite a lot. We took the fight to the terrorists rather than wait for them to come to us.
So is this the Rhodesian War of Independence then?
Yeah.
So it was where the blacks wanted independence from the white colonial rule?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The minority of the blacks did. The majority of the blacks realised they were living quite a good life actually.
Right, yeah.
Because you had apartheid in South Africa, which was very extreme. Rhodesia was more lenient, even though the white man could only vote.
Yeah.
Like I said, the majority of black men wanted to stay as it was.
Well, I mean, it hasn't exactly got better with independence, has it? If you look at the situation now, at least,
Oh, you take Robert Mugabe. He was head of ZANU, which was a terrorist organisation back then.
Right.
And they were coming across the border from Mozambique into Rhodesia, and me being on the front line, we were called many times to places where they'd just struck, and some of the atrocities I saw on black and white made me wonder what the hell all this war was about.
Like what?
Like one farmhouse we went to,
yeah,
there's black babies' heads stuck on short spears called assegais.
Babies' heads?
Babies' heads.
God.
My stick, a 4-man team, was ordered to clear the farmhouse. I went into one bedroom and I came out almost straight away and threw up. There was 2 little babies, one was about 4, one was about 2. They'd had their arms hacked off here and their legs hacked off there.
Were they alive?
There was blood everywhere. They were dead, but they bled to death. And in the blood you could see the terrorist footprints. So not only had they killed them, they'd actually stayed and enjoyed watching them die. Came out, a couple of other guys found the farmer's wife. She'd been skinned, multiple raped, and had her breast cut off, and she was still alive.
She'd been skinned?
Skinned alive. The farmer, we found his body with about 30 bullet holes in it from an AK-47, and that was down the well. Now, that was just one instance. Seen other instances where they've just totally mutilated bodies, black and white, and it sickens you as a soldier.
Yeah.
You know, war's not nice. War, you kill each other. But to see these atrocities brought on innocent people, both black and white, it goes against everything you believe as a soldier. And like I say, when I found them 2 kids in the bedroom, I actually run out and was physically sick.
I mean, that is... Do you think that... I mean, we don't really want to get into politics here particularly, but it makes you wonder what the whole thing was actually about and what was behind it. When these people were doing these things, they finally take over the country and they just ruin the country. They destroy it, don't they? I mean, Zimbabwe now is literally on the news at the moment as we speak. It's on the brink of famine.
Yeah.
It's a totally broken country. I mean, like I say, we don't want to get into politics now, but it does make you wonder just what these politicians are up to, because it's not the only country where that's happened. Tell us about some of your experiences as a soldier in terms of actually other soldiers. You must have seen a lot of combat and a lot of action.
Yeah, virtually every day. In the RLI, we were forced into groups called Fire Force, and we took rotas in being paratroopers to being dropped in zones in helicopters, in sticks. Basically how we operated, if there were terrorists in the group, in the area, going by helicopter or by foot, locate them and then chase them into a kill zone, and the kill zone was formed by paratroopers, usually about 20 to 22 paratroopers, form a line, set that kill zone up and then chase them into the kill zone and kill them. Like
a pen sort of thing?
Yeah.
So you must have killed a lot of terrorists during that time then? Yeah, okay. So, tell us a bit about the RLI then. How was that formed? Was that
the RLI was formed in 1965 and very quickly became a commando unit, and it was formed into 4 commandos, 1, 2, 3 and support commando. Highly professional soldiers from all around the world joined the RLI.
So mercenaries effectively then?
Yeah. Not quite a full-blown mercenary, because you enlisted for the Rhodesian War.
Right, okay, so you joined, but not a mercenary then.
But you had ex-Foreign Legion, ex-British SAS, ex-Australian SAS, ex-American Special Forces, Green
Sounds
Berets.
like quite, these are elite people then, aren't they, really?
A lot of ideas were shared, and still to this day the RLI is the most successful light infantry regiment ever formed.
Ever formed?
Ever formed.
Right, amazing, yeah. So you were going out, you were fighting against the terrorists. Can you tell us, a few examples of the sort of things that were going on in that particular war then?
Yeah, typical example, they were coming across the borders from Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, occasionally from South Africa, but they were coming in and causing atrocities, disruptions and whatnot, and our job was to prevent them. So a lot of the times, like I say, if you want to fight a terrorist, you've got to get inside the terrorist's head, find out what motivates them, and then you can use that against them. it quickly aspired that they were communist-backed Chinese,
right? Okay,
and Russian.
Yeah, Chinese and Russian backed. Yeah,
You know, all the weapons were Chinese and Russian, AK-47s, RPGs.
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, like Vietnam, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, anyway, sorry. Go on.
So, as terms of soldiers, growing up, there was an amount of racism. You know, you grew up and it was like, oh yeah, I want to join army and then I can kill blacks. Very soon you think, no, I'm not killing blacks, I'm killing communists.
Yeah.
And when I went in the army, yeah, I was racist, but when I came out, I wasn't racist no more.
You're just kind of people, aren't you? Really, they're just
Yeah.
the same as you on either side. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, war's not a remedy for any of the world's
And I will
problems,
say
is it?
some of the best soldiers I served with were the King's African Rifles, which was a Rhodesian regiment, and they were black soldiers,
Yeah. Okay.
highly trained and highly motivated, and I take my hat off to them.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. So the thing is, though, you actually, in terms of the actual situation, is that the whites lost the war, didn't they?
We became second place.
There you go. There you go. It wasn't all lost. It wasn't all lost. A bit of humour there, but yeah. So, but you know, you lost the war. The whites won. The blacks won. Sorry. How did that make you feel at the time? I mean, what happened to you then? I mean, you're still alive, obviously, but what happened to you at that point?
At that point, it made me very angry, wondering what was it all for.
Yeah.
And even to this day, when I look now at Zimbabwe and Robert Mugabe and what he's done to that country, and I still believe what I fought for in that war was an ideal of keeping Rhodesia alive. And if it was still Rhodesia now, a lot of those people that have died would not have died.
Okay. What happened to you in terms of actually what you know? You weren't caught or anything. What did you do? You fled the country, presumably.
No, what happened when the elections came and Mugabe was voted in, the Rhodesian Light Infantry moved en masse into South Africa.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of guys left the army. Quite a few of us thought, no, I want to still fight.
Yeah.
So we joined the South African army. I joined the 4-4 Parachute Battalion in the Pathfinders and went through all the basic training again. Now, the guy who was training us was an ex-British SAS sergeant called Peter McAleese. He left the British SAS and then he was caught up in the Angolan mercenary fiasco, if you remember, with Colonel Callan. When Callan lost control, McAleese took control. And after that he went into the Rhodesian SAS in C Squadron. When Rhodesia wrapped up, he ended up sergeant in the Pathfinders 4-4 Parachute Battalion. So he trained me.
Right.
And he trained us to British SAS standard.
Right. So that's pretty sort of top standard in terms of the military. So you were fighting in South Africa, were you, or in Angola, was it? Or
Well, we went into Angola
Yeah.
to do the fighting.
Right. And was that Chinese backed again or communist backed?
Yeah, communist backed. There was Chinese, Russian and Cuban soldiers there.
Do you believe though that the communists are controlled maybe by the same people at the top levels as the rest of us?
Yeah, definitely.
So in other words, it's just the same. You know, would you say it's the same group of people pushing these pretty much naive, largely ignorant people together?
Yeah.
And just killing each other. Okay, we don't want to dwell on that too much. What happened then? What happened after you left Africa? How did that come about?
The contract, which was a year contract, was coming to an end, and one of the lads, just like jokingly, he was reading an American magazine called Soldier of Fortune, and in the back in them days, they used to advertise for mercenaries, and he just said, "Look at this one, high rates of pay, South America, what do you reckon?" And I went, "Yeah, why not?" So it was just the next stage.
Right, yeah.
The two of us, we went to Bangkok, had a couple of weeks holiday there, and then we flew out to Bogota, and then ended up in Medellin working for...
Medellin, so city in Colombia,
working for a local councillor.
A local councillor?
Yeah.
Right, so what you were sort of, checking bridges out, checking the parks were okay, I mean... The councillor.
Well, basically, we were bodyguards for this councillor.
You were bodyguards for the councillor, okay.
But it quickly transpired who he actually was. He was a massive cocaine dealer. and his name was Pablo Escobar.
For those of you who don't know, that Pablo Escobar, one of the world most notorious drug barons, not drug dealer, drug barons. Tell us a bit about. I mean, how did you feel when did you know who he was? Did you know his reputation at that point, or
No.
you didn't?
No.
You just thought he was a counsellor. You just thought you were doing a bodyguard job. What was the job? I mean, in terms of your day-to-day roles, kind of thing.
The first few months, he had an house which was called the Hacienda.
The Hacienda.
And he was under house arrest.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be put in prison, but because of the power he had, he played politics and said, no, I'll go under house arrest at the Hacienda. Now, being in a position he feared from other drug barons, that they might assassinate him.
Right, yeah.
So he had people like us patrolling the jungle around the Hacienda to make sure there were nobody coming in to try and assassinate him.
So you were patrolling around with guns and things like this, yeah? What were your first impressions of Medellin? How did you find it? How did you find Colombia? Because I mean, as far as I can see, it's been on the TV a number of times. It's a pretty almost like lawless place, isn't it?
Very lawless. I can't speak for what it's like now, but back then, money bought everything, and money bought life, which was highlighted one night in Medellin. We're in a bar, and this guy we met was just talking. He was on about it, and he said, "I'll prove the point." And he literally gave a kid a Colt 45 and said, for a few quid, go and blow that guy's head off. And this kid was going to do it.
Right.
And that was one way that they sorted arguments out over there.
Just to shoot each other. It's like the Wild West, pretty much. Then. Yeah. I guess you were kind of used to that kind of vibe, maybe being in the wars that you'd been in. It didn't faze you too much.
No.
So how did it come that you were sort of accepted into his trust? Because I mean, apparently you got into his inner sanctum, did you not?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
It was one afternoon. I was in my room. I was relaxing and listening to Deep Purple, which is my favourite band. Apparently, it turned out it was Escobar's favourite band.
There you go. That's a fact.
And he heard Deep Purple playing. And he came into the room and introduced himself on a personal level, sat down. Next thing he's rolling a joint, and I'm sharing a joint with him. Then he invited me into his inner sanctum.
Wow.
For some reason he trusted me.
Combined love of Deep Purple.
Gringo, and he trusted.
Wow. Did you speak Spanish at that time, presumably? No? He spoke English though?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So what was he like as a person? I'm sure a lot of the viewers have read about him, various books. I know there's all sorts of information about him. What was he actually like? I mean, you were there sharing...
a bit shorter than me.
Yeah.
At the time he was about 30 years of age.
He was only 30?
Yeah.
Wow, he'd done quite well then, hadn't he, in terms of the drugs trade,
Nice guy, would do anything for you. That's all on the face of it.
Yeah.
Like I say, he was working as a counsellor, and he was putting a lot of money into the community, so the community respected him.
So the community liked him then, he was,
rather than like most criminals who get money and keep it for themselves, he kept some for himself, but he put a lot into the community.
I mean, in a way, that's more than most politicians do. They just take.
Yeah.
He was actually giving back. I think there's a lot of countries like that. Brazil's a good example, where often the drug dealers are more respected than the people in... and they have more power to protect people.
Yeah.
How did he deal with sort of secrecy and security? What were his sort of policies for dealing with that?
He was very, very strict.
Yeah.
He ran it with an iron fist.
An iron fist, yeah.
If he even suspected there was a traitor, he'd have him shot.
Just there and then, just like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
He looking back, he was a psychopath.
So, in terms of, you're actually out there where it was all going on. I mean, I don't know about the cocaine in this country, but I would imagine out there it was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I've never taken cocaine myself, and one of the main reasons for it is when I was in Colombia, had to be switched on 24 hours a day. So I didn't want to take any drugs other than like the odd joint, where I could relax for an hour or two. what I did see of the drug use there, now bearing in mind Escobar, he never touched cocaine.
It's an interesting fact.
Some of his men did. They'd put a line of cocaine out, snort it, and then be up all night. Now,
so it's powerful stuff then.
if you compare it to the cocaine that you get on the streets in Britain, I've watched some of my friends do it. They'll have a line of cocaine, they're all, oh yeah, I'm happy. Half an hour later, they're having another line of cocaine. Now, I know cocaine comes as a white powder, so it comes over from Colombia. Dealers down the line get it, and then they're mixing glucose in with it. They're mixing Vim in with it. They're mixing all sorts of white powder, chalk. And what you get is a minute part of what it originally started out of.
I think the native people just take the coca leaves and just chew the leaves directly, don't
Yeah.
they? You know, I mean, that is the purest form of
Yeah.
what you would assume to be the cocaine.
Yeah.
And like you say, they're probably buzzing off that for days, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting what you say about Escobar never touched it, though. I suppose maybe he had a lot to lose and he didn't want to do that.
That's right.